It's the return of the Cowboys hoodie. It is Monday, April 6th. A lot has happened since my last post. 2 weeks ago, I actually recorded a vlog that I never posted because I was in the middle of processing this waiting period. Here's a little bit from that. I have no desire to post a video to keep the vlog updated at the moment. So the fact that I am is just trying to stay true to what I set out to do. So I wrote a script back in 2007. In 2008, I optioned it and then started the waiting period to trying to get it made. And for those of us who write with the intent to make ourselves, it's just full of waiting. You're anticipating the future, you're getting vision for it, you're excited and trying to figure out when. And waiting can just be really exhausting. It can just be painful. It tests your patience, and I'm not by nature a patient person, so it can be really hard. Year after year, we try to get funding, we try to move the ball on the film, and just more waiting. In 2017, came back to the project. I might have spent 10 years renewing an annual option to him. And then at one point I said, hey, I'm not going to renew it anymore. We've sort of waited long enough. And then when I did a rewrite in 2017, I changed it to South. And that began a new period of waiting, of trying to get a movie made. And desperation can really come on you to try to get the next film made, especially when your first film, like mine, was so small and so underseen. So much of that gets wrapped up in a film like this. The problem with waiting and why it can be so hard is because it kind of, to do it incorrectly, to do it how I typically do it, it causes you to live in the future. You're thinking about what will be. To a degree that's necessary, we plan, we get vision for things. But waiting can be so painful when we're not where we are, when we're not present, we're only thinking about what will be or what should be or what I want to be. It really takes a toll emotionally, even on your family, because ever since 2017, when I rewrote it, I was always in this weird limbo of maybe in a few months I'll make this film. 2017, I was thinking I could make it that fall, and then I was thinking I could make it the next spring. Like, I remember each year the two different windows that I was really anticipating trying to get this movie made, knowing that I was going to have to pull together financing and all the things were going to have to kind of coalesce. And then when they don't, you realize it's not going to work for this window, and so you push it off to the next one. Spring 2018. And then I really thought fall 2018. And then I really thought spring 2019. And then fall 2019 became the closest I came to actually making it. I had a certain amount raised. I had locations ready to go. I had a cast ready to go. And then I had a financier come on board and say, we want to help you make this bigger, and push it off again. And when you do that, sometimes you have to relive all of the pain of the waiting. I just want to get this made, and now it might get pushed off again. But then thankfully things came together fairly quick, and we got a cast together, we got the financing committed, and we were set for May 8th. We, for the first time, moved into pre-production. We set up the LLC, we set up the bank account. We were actively making the movie. We were no longer waiting. And in fact, the last video I posted was about the fact that we're in active prep. And now here we are finding ourselves waiting again because a pandemic has hit the country and put everything into limbo. And I am not doing well in this waiting time. I feel like I'm having to tell myself and give myself permission to just have it be hard. And I'm really trying to get through it and be strong for my family and be positive. The last week, 10 days has been some of the hardest I've ever gone through, just emotionally, just thinking about the waiting. I need to remind myself that part of my problem with my impatience and thinking about the future and getting so frustrated, like, oh, I could have a pity party. Like, man, I was gonna make my movie, it was finally gonna happen, and now this is gonna screw it all up. The problem is the future is unwritten, and that's the problem with waiting when it becomes so hard. It's because we think we're trying to work towards a narrative that we've imagined, that we want to happen. If I do this, this will happen. I'm waiting for this thing to happen. But the future, by definition, does not exist. It is not written. And whenever this movie gets made, it will have only gotten made one way, and that will have been the way it was always going to get made. It is only impatience. It is only anxiety. It is only fear that causes me to spin my wheels now in a time of forced waiting that just gets me anxious and frustrated and mad. Man, I've been so mad. I've been so mad. So I'm working through it with everybody. And if you hear me work through it, maybe you can work through it yourself. I don't know when. I don't know when anything. And I'm just trying to wait well. Some good stuff in there. And you can see I'm actively trying to process the pain of this period, this time. I actually also didn't know it, but I was in the middle of suffering from COVID-19. I had some symptoms, fever, aches, pains. The fever went away. I was good for a few days. And then that night, fever roared back, full force. And then I had a week of fevers, horrible aches and pains, tight chest, lost my taste. Thankfully, it was never bad enough to need the hospital. I did call my doctor. I did call the coronavirus hotline. I didn't qualify to get tested because I wasn't high risk. And it was about a 2-week illness. And I'm still not 100% back even now, but haven't had a fever for over a week. And honestly, with the exception of a bad flu bout a few years back over Christmas, this could be the worst I've ever been sick. But again, thankfully didn't need the hospital. I was also having to work through the pain of the waiting and the pain of having a project come as close as it's ever come to being everything I ever wanted it to be, and now thrown into a limbo. And I hadn't fully grieved it. Even as I was recording that video, I had not grieved it. Actually, it might have been that following weekend when I really kind of broke through and had a straight up emotional breakdown. I cried, I wept. I talked about it with some friends and just really grieved. I mourned. When we mourn is when we get what's on the inside out. And I hadn't gotten it out yet. And I cried bitterly. And I really had to grieve this film project that I truly believe we will make. I believe we will make this summer. I believe it'll happen, but I don't know. And I had to let go what I had. I had a film financed, cast, ready to go in May. I had to let that go. And I didn't want to, and I was holding on to it, and that anger and frustration was eating me. And I had to grieve it, I had to let that go. And that came with a big emotional response. But then I grieved. I accepted the stages of grief, right? We go through disillusionment, disbelief, anger, and ultimately acceptance. And I had to accept the situation that we're still in. You know, April 6th. Feels like we're all at least gonna be homebound through the end of the month. And we can't really restart this project until the industry restarts. And only at that point can we sort of see the lay of the land and see when we can film. So for my own sort of sanity, I had to kind of find a little bit of new purpose for this month. There's some prep work I can do for the film, certainly. There's a lot of shot listing I can do with my DP. We're doing that. But I also have to sort of find new purpose in this month where I'm home. It can't be just waiting for this film. And thankfully, I've been able to sort of pivot and find some new purpose and dig into some research. There's a lot of projects I want to make in my career. One in particular is a period piece set in the 1920s. And I was like, well, let's just get a bunch of books that I've been wanting to dive into and just start reading. I don't know when I'll write this project. I don't know when I'll make this project, but I know the project will start with a lot of reading and a lot of research. So I've been doing that, and that's given me a great sense of purpose. It's been fun. It's been something I can do here at home, and I've actually found some joy in this time. When 2 weeks ago, that video, I was in a nightmare. I swear I was waking up in a daze thinking, when will this nightmare end? But grieving comes comfort. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. When we get what's on the inside out, then we can be comforted, then we can move on, we can get new vision, we can pivot, we can get new purpose. And that's what's been hard, I think, in the waiting, is a lack of purpose, a lack of vision for the now. What can I do now? So if your projects are frozen, if they change, if your plans change, if your hopes and dreams shatter, grieve it, mourn it, get whatever's on the inside out, and then find comfort and find new purpose and new vision while we're all waiting. And I'm still in the waiting period, and I've got new vision for waiting well now.